What's up, guys? This week we're going to take a look into the controversial book, The Rational Male, which was written in 2013 by Rollo Tomassi. Now, it's known as one of the best red pill books, and it aims to educate guys about the influence women have on the world, how it relates to men, dating strategies, and relationships. It also dives into the unrealistic expectations and fantasies that men have when it comes to relationships. Now, I think this book has a lot of solid information that can help men better see the world with clarity. However, I noticed that a lot of people that read this and refer to it tend to have a very negative, sort of women-hating mindset. I decided I wanted to explore this book for myself, and I'm going to summarize the book and the main points and give you my opinion along the way, but I'll also give you an overall verdict at the end. I think there is a lot to be learned from this book, but you will need the discretionary advice that I talk about at the end of the video. So let's get into it. One of the first topics he discusses is Oneitis. He states that there's no just one girl for you, that there are many women out there that are suited and compatible and many that aren't, but there isn't just this one magical girl meant just for you. He states that this thinking helps you to basically rationalize the need and desire for a girl, but Oneitis, or that unhealthy obsession and need for a girl, isn't simply caused by the belief that there's one girl out there for you. It's a lot more complicated than that. It's usually generated by a fear of loss, by unrealistic future projections, a lack of options, or a lack of confidence in your ability to find other women. I don't think that believing in one is the root cause of Oneitis. Even with guys that don't want to be, with a single girl, even guys that are with multiple women, still can get incredibly needy. Even most coaches I see have the same issue. It's rooted in a bigger sense of insecurity, a fear of loss, a fear of validation. It's not as simple as acknowledging there isn't just one girl out there for you. It's a good start, but deeper work into neediness is necessary to get over Oneitis behaviors. Let's talk about game. So in The Rational Male, Rollo discusses the ability to modify our own behaviors and life skills based on psychological and sociological principles in order to create that attraction with women. Guys can either decide to better themselves or blame circumstances outside of their control, like race and height. They fall into these victim mindsets. Instead, he encourages you to take that growth mindset, to understand you can be better and your lifestyle can be better, and to focus on the things that you can change. Of course, at UMP, we completely agree with this. He also mentions that for most guys, simply being more of a jerk or disagreeable will separate you from the majority of the nice guys out there, and that in itself will lead to attraction. He states that most guys want to win people over by simply being agreeable, by trying to be similar to the girl, that he says familiarity only creates comfort and trust but not attraction. He describes comfort and trust as post-orgasm conditions, whereas anxiety, arousal, and sexual urgency is pre-orgasm conditions. This goes well into the next topic of women don't want full disclosure. Again, couldn't agree more. Guys think that creating a connection and bond with a girl is about telling her every little detail about you, good or bad, and then learning the same about her. Look, I'm sorry, but this isn't a movie. It's not your best friend. She wants mystery and mystique. She wants to feel a heart race. She wants to be excited and inspired, not find out a bunch of data points about you. This can be hard for some guys to hear or understand, since most guys in game, they're very methodical and they like to focus on these data points. The simple fact is you're gonna bore the girl and give off these submissive friendzone vibes if you only focus on that. Talking about friendzone, the book speaks to the fact that you should avoid getting into this friendzone frame. Now, my opinion is it's fine to be friends with a girl. If that's what you want, it's fine. But don't do it under this premise that you tried to have sex with her, she rejected you, and now you rationalize saying that, oh, we're friends. There's honestly nothing more brutal than hearing a girl honestly talking about these friend zone orbiting guys. They will describe them as completely pathetic. There's nothing less attractive than having a guy trying to get with a girl by sneaking his way in by trying to be her friend. They have zero respect for it. Sexual market value, or SMV, he does a good job at explaining this topic. He speaks about what men find attractive, what women find attractive, and then he goes on to describe how that basically ages through the years. He describes, I think, men as reaching their peak at around 36, and women reaching their peak at around 23. And this is because women, men tend to find their looks attractive, where women tend to find men's status attractive. The Alpha Buddha. So Rollo tries to describe what he envisions an alpha to be, and he gives this example of Corey, which is like an Australian kid that, held a party. You can watch the interview.
A teenager holds an alcohol-fueled party for hundreds of kids while his unsuspecting parents are on holiday. 16-year-old Corey Worthington is now facing not only the wrath of mum and dad, but a $20,000 fine from police. I spoke to him a short time ago. Corey, thanks for joining us. The only question that I can think to ask is, what were you thinking?
I wasn't really.
Did your parents say you could have a party?
No,
So
they didn't.
why did you?
I don't know, it was just a get-together with a couple mates at first, and then we thought we might as well just have a bit of a party, and then it sort of just got out of hand, and yeah.
Look, this guy is hilarious, but he's also extremely immature. And even though he has that I don't give a fuck frame, to me, that's not what is an alpha. In this interview, he comes off as childish and patronized. And I think if you really want to see what a true alpha is or what the characteristics are, you can check out our video from last week where we talk about dominance. Plate theory, or the idea of dating several women. This is one of the most important messages guys can get from this book. He encourages remaining in open, casual relationships and basically seeing multiple women in order to gain the experience, become less needy, and understand your own value. It allows you to better discover what girls are your type, which ones are valuable to you, and how to handle power dynamics in a relationship. He also goes on to describe and debunk common misunderstanding guys have when it comes to seeing multiple women. He describes that girls would prefer to have a successful man that wanted something open than this needy relationship guy. Also, that seeing multiple women doesn't have to be a lot of work. Men have this anxiety that they have to give this constant attention and validation and be worried about this, relationship the whole time, otherwise they might lose the girl. Of course, this isn't true. Actually, the more you're able to kind of pull away in a comfortable manner, the more the girl's gonna realize you have other stuff going in your life. She's gonna see the value. And what it's actually gonna do, it's gonna swap that dynamic. And now the girl's gonna have that little bit of anxiety of how does she keep you around? How does she keep you interested? And it's gonna work to basically create a frame where the girl will be chasing you through that interaction. I think this section's really good in the book. The one issue I just have with this is this imagery of spinning plates. I think it sends the wrong message. I think for one, the idea of thinking as women as plates isn't very appealing to me. And then the imagery of it being complicated, you're trying to manage a bunch of different things. It's really not like that. It can actually be as much work or as little work as having an exclusive relationship as is dating multiple women. So yeah, I just don't like that imagery of spinning plates. Relationship management. So Rollo says that you should never say it outright that you're seeing other women, but he does say that you should basically show this through your behaviors and actions. And the reason you do this is you don't want women to feel like you want commitment when you don't, because you will be wasting your time. So he actually recommends that you let her glean your behavior and show that you have options by not being too available, don't be there during the weekends. But look, to me, I agree, you shouldn't lie, right? You shouldn't tell a girl you want a relationship when you don't. One, yeah, it is low quality. Two, it's just a lot of stress, right? Stress that isn't needed. And three, it's not gonna actually help you get the girl any more than if you were to say you wanted something less exclusive or more open. You need to be able to communicate your intentions both verbally and through your behaviors. Look, I often talked about other girls I'm seeing or my past open relationships. It needs to be a balance with each girl, and it's gonna be different. It will come with practice and experience, but you need to realize most guys are gonna fall on the side of not communicating it enough. They fear they're gonna lose the girl if she finds out you're seeing other girls or you don't want commitment. Or they're worried the girl's just not gonna be into them if they hear that. So they often rationalize that because they said one time they didn't want something serious, or because they wait before replying, or they don't see her on a weekend, that she must know that you don't want something super serious. And they live with this belief and rationalization that, oh, I did it once, so now all my other behaviors can be indicating a relationship. And most guys fall on that spectrum, so you need to be aware of that. Most guys hearing this advice from the book are going to fall into that frame, fall into that idea of not showing the girl enough. And it's gonna lead to the girls asking what is this, right? They're gonna be confused, there's gonna be drama. All of that's unnecessary if you just communicate it and create the right dynamic. And it's gonna lead to a much healthier and happier open relationship or casual relationship that you have with this girl. The book also speaks about power dynamics in the relationship. So the rational male makes a point that whether or not you want to see relationships through the lenses of power dynamics or not, it doesn't matter. Power dynamics will always be at play. This is so true. Many guys get good with women and then have no idea how to manage the relationship. They think all the hard work is done, they stop putting effort into the relationship, and quickly find themselves in a position of fear. Look, games, frames, power dynamics, they'll always be at play. They don't just disappear because you're in a relationship or you have an agreement or that you love each other. There is nothing wrong with acknowledging this. I find that once you do, it allows you to continue to put in the effort into a relationship so you don't get lazy. You ensure whatever created that attraction, that connection with the girl, doesn't just dissipate because you get comfortable. The book then goes on to describe that the core of power dynamics in a relationship is based on whoever needs the other one less. Again, this is true, but it goes much deeper than this. I would not focus on needing her less. I think a lot of guys hear this and they basically just pull away. I would focus instead on, create a dynamic where you don't need her at all, but you just want to spend time with her. And then focus on creating that value and space that she wants the same and is able to chase. Simply saying I don't need her and ignoring her needs will not work unless you actually continue to focus on building that attraction, the value, and that strong emotional experience. Unplugging and taking the red pill. In reference to the Matrix, unplugging and taking the red pill is about breaking through certain beliefs that are developed through childhood or culture, religion, etc., and seeing the world through a new lens. The biggest message about unplugging or taking the red pill is understanding that you can grow as a person, which will result in developing more attraction from women. That simply just being yourself isn't going to work. The second half is understanding what attracts women and their true nature. That they don't want that agreeable nice guy that tries to mold themselves to be more like the girl. Trying to facilitate commonalities is usually unproductive in building attraction. There's also a section on dealing with non-believers. Tomasi explains how whenever you try to grow and develop as a person, this change will always create doubt and fear in those around you. It's important to recognize this and realize that others are going to resist the change, especially your friends. And so you need to be able to see that and understand why it happens. And to be honest, just ignore it a little bit. And I'm sure most of the guys watching here have probably been through that. You've probably been through a period of self-development where a lot of your friends were kind of telling you it was weird or creepy or not to do it. So ignore that shit and improve yourself anyway. This section then goes through the stages of unplugging. And I just think it's notable the last stage that they put here, which is becoming jaded. And that was my fear of people that read this book, is they enter that stage. And they refer it to like men going their own way, which is essentially a movement of, if you think of like extreme feminist women and just take the male version of that, that's men going their own way. It's a bunch of guys that hate women so much or like given up on the idea of women so much that they've literally said, we're gonna be incels. They get in a room and circle jerk each other and tell you how crap women are. So it's important to note, because that is probably my fear of people reading this book, is that they go too far with that stage. Sexual pluralism. So the book explains that women fall into a short-term mating strategy, looking for like the alpha guy when they're younger and at their prime and competitive in the sexual market. But then when they become older and less competitive, they take up a longer-term mating strategy that looks for security and comfort. There is some biological evidence to support this. Some studies looking at hormonal influence girls are more attracted to more dominant men during the more fertile stages of their life and menstrual cycle. The book also suggests that they look for genes in one man and then support from another. They cited this concept that like many men are fathering children that aren't their own, which is just false. We have to be careful because information like this is always looked at black and white. People read something like, women when they're more fertile will go for a more dominant guy and suddenly think that they need to act like this beta loser provider guy for older women. It's simply not true. Added to just biological influence, there's also social and life choices that come into play. But even when a woman is older and wanting to settle down, if you don't want that, if you want something more casual, then don't feel like you have to change the way you portray yourself. That strong alpha dominant and that sexual value will always prevail. If you can be that guy, she will still choose to sleep with you. She can still be looking for someone to marry while meeting up with you in the same week. Feminine imperative. He suggests that women are pushing an imperative so that the world, and especially dating rules and protocols, better suit their gender. Sure, I mean, a lot of our society and some legal systems benefit women, but to suggest that the feminine imperative is running the world is just as silly to suggest that there is like a patriarchy running the world. Our world is a complex set of cultures, beliefs, hierarchies. It's not simply run by women. Look, I agree, I get it. I get the message in the book that dildos are empowering and healthy, and sex dolls are sexist and creepy, and family courts tend to, support women over men when it comes to custody or splitting wealth. But to somehow suggest that it is only women taking over and pushing their way, and somehow men were suppressed is just total bullshit. For the most part, women are much more sexually shamed than men. If they were to sleep with 100 people versus guys to sleep with 100 people, women are going to be a lot more shamed than men. The one big problem I have with this book is around this topic. It creates that very us versus them mentality. The rational male, for example, asserts that monogamy is a tool used by women to push their imperative. It's simply not true. Monogamy doesn't serve a gender interest. It can serve individual interest, but not a gender on a whole. Hypergamy or hypergamy. Now, this is a big topic in the community, and one I actually might fully look to address in another video if you guys are interested. It essentially means marrying up or trying to find someone with a higher level of attractiveness than yourself. Now, in this book, it's kind of used as a way to push the idea that women have this secret, uncontrollable urge and agenda to cheat on you with the next high status guy that comes along. The truth of the matter is that we're all hypergamous. Women and men are looking for someone higher on that hierarchy, but there are many other factors at play. The total investment in that relationship, a fear of loss, overprotective behaviors and resentfulness, and an understanding of your own perceived value. Now, it's common sense that we all want better, but it's also common sense that we're not just gonna give it up for the next person that pops along. So I encourage you to stop stressing and using hypergamy as a tool to be jaded about women. Rollo Tomassi's Iron Rules. So in this book, he gives 9 rules when it comes to interacting with women. The first one being frame is everything. At UMP, we highly encourage this as well. This goes back to the old point about managing relationships. It's not so much about just controlling the frame, but also holding the right frame. Don't think about it as just you versus her, but cultivating the right frame for a healthy relationship. Rule number 2 is never share your leg count. Now, this rule is ridiculous. Look, Tomasi's only been with about 40 women, and to give you perspective, a lot of guys in our mastermind have slept with that many women. Alex slept with 3 times that last year. And this isn't a matter of bragging, but it's a matter of experience. And I think once you start sleeping with more and more women, you become less worried about girls finding out about that. You need to be proud in the fact that you have experience, that you are good with women, and you should share that. And it does create that competition anxiety that he spoke about in the spinning plate section. It's actually a good thing. Now, look, if you have a bad frame and you say this in a way that you're kind of shy and embarrassed about, then it might come off that you're just easy, or that you're desperately seeking women and you don't care about the quality of the girl. But if you hold your frame and you display this in the right way, it's going to create a lot of attraction, and it's going to actually set up the right dynamic for that relationship. And this is something that I was kind of worried about earlier on in this book, is that I think when it comes to these relationships, things like hiding how many women you've been with is going to set up the wrong idea. You want the girl to know that you've been with lots of women. You want her to know that you're used to having casual relationships. Hiding this is going to create more of that dynamic that it might lead to something more serious too early. Rule number 3 is don't wait for women who make you wait. This again is something I disagree with. In very conservative countries, girls are going to feel shame around sex, and every single one is going to try and make you wait. Unless you have met a very down and sexually open girl, she's gonna make you wait as a default. It's up to you to build enough attraction, create an open-minded frame, deal with her limiting beliefs, that she chooses not to wait. Don't just get butthurt and say she's making me wait for sex and next to her. Look, I agree with the premise that you shouldn't make her wait, but only under the idea that it's your responsibility and your role to create that dynamic that she doesn't want to wait. Rule number 4 is don't ever live with a woman you're not marrying. Now, look, I'm a bit indifferent here. He's right in the sense that when you move in, it's going to change the dynamic. It might add stress to the relationship. You become more comfortable and, honestly, the attraction might die down a little bit. But look, I think it's a good idea that if you are thinking about marrying someone, or getting into a very serious long-term exclusive relationship with them, that living together is a good test. I think you should be able to do that and experience it and know that you're happy in that dynamic before you decide to take things further. Rule number 5, never allow a woman to be in control of birth control. So he took this a bit far. He was insinuating that a huge amount of men, again, are raising kids that aren't their own. It's complete BS. I think I looked at the stats, like less than 1%. He also cited a story where NBA players basically had a bunch of girls that were trying to impregnate themselves. Now, you're not a multi-millionaire famous NBA player. Like, I doubt women are going to be taking your condoms from the trash and trying to impregnate themselves. But look, yes, I mean, it's both your responsibility. Like, if you don't want to have a kid, then wear a condom. And to be honest, like, if you don't want to be getting STIs and spreading them, wear a condom. So look, I think this rule comes from a bad place, but at the end of the day, it's right. It should be your responsibility. Wear a condom, be smart. Easy as that. Rule number 6, women are incapable of loving a man the way he expects to. Again, it's coming at this place where it's like the woman is at fault and she's the one that's wrong. Look, I think women are capable of loving men, right? I think what he's trying to say is that a lot of men have unrealistic expectations of what love means from a woman. They might live in this fantasy land that the girl's just gonna love them regardless. And no matter what happens, no matter how lazy they get, the girl should just love them anyway. Of course, that's unrealistic and that's silly. And no woman's gonna love you in that sense. But I would prefer to take this, instead of aiming it at the girl, is aim it at ourselves. Say that we are the ones that are expecting to be loved in this fantasy land, and that we should realize that we need to create that dynamic that goes back and forth. Rule number 7, develop new relationships and don't fix broken ones. Look, I agree. Way too many guys meet one girl, fall in love with her, and spend the next few years being unhappy and trying to fix and change the girl that they once ideally, magically imagined she would be. Instead, go out and meet multiple girls with a stable, rational mind and choose a girl to be with that best suits you and your lifestyle. Rule number 8 is never help a woman figure out why she won't fuck you. He says that women basically design the idea of leagues and that a lot of men fall into place and they don't go for the hot girl thinking that he's out of the league. Although, look, I disagree that women designed leagues. I think like a lot of women also don't feel entitled to certain men. But I agree with the message. Don't reject yourself because you think you're not good enough. Instead, work to recognize the value you have, improve on it, and then use it to go for the women that you want. Rule number 9, and the last one, is never self-deprecate. That basically means don't be that white knight that tries to win her over by being nice or by deal-being yourself. Now, the rule never self-deprecate probably sparks up a few guys' ears that are in game because it is a strategy used to deal with shit tests, and it's also something we do a little bit to deal with unattainability issues at UMP. So that's kind of separate. What he's trying to say here is don't just try to be that, pathetic little nice guy because you think that's what girls want. All right, guys, we've made it. Final verdict. So I do highly recommend this book. I think it's great for guys that are new to game or that are coming from these thoughts and beliefs that women are these delicate little angels that can only be attracted by getting on your knees and whimpering to their every request, or by trying to basically artificially getting to know them by showing how much you have in common. But I think this book, look, it does a great job at describing the nature of S&B and explores concepts of non-exclusivity fairly well. The concern I have with this book is the potential to read it and see women as the enemy. Women are generalized as very much the same in this book, all driven by their biology the exact same way. They're portrayed as this manipulated group playing games, trying to take over the world, steal your cum, cheat on you with the next high value guy that walks along. They're looking for alpha males to, basically have their genes and a beta to take care of them. It's simply not true. Like, women are more diverse than that. They have more influences on their behavior than simply their biology. It's a very dangerous and sad mindset to fall into. There doesn't have to be a gender war. There can be a win-win in these romantic and sexual relationships. You can love a woman and not be blinded, and you can enjoy your relationship while still being aware and not cheated. In terms of the author Rollo, I also found it a little bit odd or hypocritical that he'd only been with 40 girls, and he was married in his late 20s or early 30s. Look, he seems very intelligent and versed in a lot of the areas of relationship dynamics. But topics around creating open relationships, I noticed the book promoting strategies that I used to implement when I was in my first few years of game. You know, strategies like not mentioning other women, not talking about how many girls you slept with, and really kind of hiding the true dynamic of that relationship. And so I feel like that is kind of poorly explained and comes from, potentially lack of experience in that area. All this being said, I was actually pleasantly surprised with reading this book. I thought it was going to be a lot more women hating than it was. From even watching interviews with Rollo, I don't actually think he's resentful or jaded himself when it comes to women. It actually just comes across as very logical, matter of fact, and a little bit nihilistic. The issue with this is that you need to be able to express yourself emotionally with women to have these fulfilling, happy, and loving interactions. My fear with this book is that men will read it and they'll take some of these overblown concepts like hypergamy and make the wrong assumptions. So check out this book with a cautious mind. Don't turn into a lonely, woman-hating, circle-jerking, men gone their own way guy. And let me know your own thoughts. I'm gonna put the link in the description and hit me up with any topics you want me to go deeper into, like hypergamy. I can do a video on that. But anyway, I'll see you guys in the comments. Be nice, and I'll see you guys next week.